And welcome back to For Such a Time as This, the place where there is no such thing as a silent witness. We have today our new monicum. I think that's what you call, or our pick, or whatever, depicting more realistically of what we're talking about in time prophecies and the Middle East wars, including Israel. It looks pretty good. Always with here, Rick. Rick, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you, Pastor.
Well, we're going to talk about the update. It is June 10th of what's going on in the Middle East with Israel, and we're going to have our spiritual discussion at the end. Babylon the Great, spoken of in Revelation, at the end of Revelation, and throughout the book of Revelation. What is it? What is the city? Why the language? And we'll go through that. But we're going to start off with our updates as always. Here's the first update: USAID, Sinwar demise as things continue to cook in the Middle East. Here's the first update.
On Sunday, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distributed 1.6 million meals, totaling more than 10 million since its operation began. In an interview with CBN News, GHF Executive Chairman Reverend Johnny Moore stated its prime mission.
It's really simple. Feed Gazans. That's the mission. That's all we're there to do, and our goal is to do it efficiently, to do it safely, to help as many people as we possibly can.
Moore says the response from Gaza's civilians has been overwhelming.
As an American, one of the things that's just like so encouraging to me is Gazans like spontaneously saying, "Thank you, America. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you to the United States." They understand that this aid is coming from in effect, the American people. Okay? It's coming from us. It's an incredible thing.
Military correspondent Yaakov Lapin says the GHF represents a serious danger to Hamas rule inside Gaza.
And the reason that's very harmful to Hamas is because it takes away the dependency of the Gazan civilians on Hamas, and that removes its political power. This is also a financial blow because Hamas sells excess aid that it hijacked until now on Gaza's market, so that was tariff financing money that they're now being deprived of.
On Sunday, the IDF revealed a Hamas command center located under one of Gaza's main hospitals. The military removed the body of Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar, who was killed in an Israeli airstrike from the tunnel network.
This is another example of the cynical use of Hamas, using civilians as human shields, using civilian infrastructure, hospitals again and again. We find those infrastructure.
Dufresne also defended Israel's practice of moving Gazans out of dangerous areas.
We are moving them from one place to another for their own safety. Hamas is killing them. Hamas is using them as human shield day after day, time after time.
Yeah. I don't know, Rick. That aid somehow is hurting Hamas. I don't believe that. The war is ugly.
So my understanding was that the UN, through the UN agencies, they were supplying food, et cetera, to Gaza. And UNRWA, what it has been proven, is in direct connection or supporting Hamas. So it has cutoffs, and they did sell the food. They'd come in and rob the food. The people couldn't get it. And my understanding is they made a lot of money off of selling that food, and exorbitant prices to his people. So this has cut into that, but how much, I don't know.
Yeah. You're when you're giving food into the place that you're warring with, I don't know how they could be good. I mean, they could spin it all they want. I don't know.
So some of the Gazans they thought they had to pay for all the food. Now they're not paying for the food, and this is that's another thing that has turned them against Hamas. They always had to pay for their food. Now they don't have to pay for their food through this organization.
Okay. And I said USAID because I was thinking about U.S. aiding the Gazans and how it is. Look, I don't want the Gazans to starve or to die, but I don't know if this prolonging the war, I don't think is good for anybody. All right, here we go. The next one is Hamas, Qatar, the connection between the two. Here we go.
An Israeli media report claims to shed more light on the relationship between Qatar and Hamas. Israeli Channel 12 reports the IDF uncovered documents in Gaza showing Hamas and Qatar worked together to thwart President Trump's deal of the century, a 2019 peace plan between Israel and the Palestinians. The report says Hamas leader Khaled Mashal told the Emir of Qatar, "We need to cooperate in order to resist the deal of the century and thwart it." Another major Hamas leader, Ismail Haniyeh, reportedly said that funds from Qatar are, quote, Hamas's main artery. The report contends Qatar funded Hamas for years with millions of dollars, allowing it to survive and carry out October 7th. Meanwhile, negotiations between the U.S. and Iran are at a standstill. Texas Congressman Michael McCall says he met recently in Israel with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
There's no question in my mind coming out of that meeting what Mr. Netanyahu's intentions are, and that is to strike Iran when the negotiations go bad. The question is going to be, what will be the United States' role?
The breakdown in talks
Yeah. What say ye?
So the main thing about Qatar and this whole thing that started with October 7th, the whole purpose of it was to stop the Abraham Accord for Saudi Arabia to become part of the Abraham Accord. And that was the cause behind it now. And here we are now. And they did stop that.
Were they having Abrahamic Accords underneath Biden? They were going to do it?
No. This was from the result of the Abraham. Okay, so Biden didn't do anything with the Abraham Accord.
That's what I'm saying. So it wasn't being negotiated under Biden, was it?
No, it was negotiated under Trump in the last month before he left office. And his son-in-law, what was his name?
Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner was the one responsible that put this all together and got 4 or 5 Arab countries to sign up for the...
October 7th happened in 2023.
Right.
What you're talking about is 3 years after Trump leaves the White House.
Exactly. But now since Trump got back in, he started to initiate the Abraham Accord and wanted to...
I understand that, but why did they attack in 2023? There was no negotiation with the Abraham Accords going on at the time, right?
No, but...
So why did they do it then?
Because Saudi Arabia was getting ready to come on board with the Abraham Accords.
So Saudi Arabia was going to sign it in 2023 under Biden.
No, it was just this came up when
because if the attack happens in 2023, October of 2023, 2 years from this October,
right?
That was underneath Biden was president then. So they were going to sign the Abraham Accords in 2023 when Biden was president. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. All I know is that Israel and Saudi Arabia were close to signing.
Okay, so they were going to sign it when Biden was still president.
Yeah, so they were close to it, and they saw that coming.
Gotcha.
And I don't think it was because of Biden, but because more of Israel and Saudi Arabia.
Underneath Biden,
yeah,
I got it. But Qatar is allied with Iran?
Well, they must have some relationship with Iran because they're supplying Hamas with all their money and all their...
I thought it was Iran. For years we've heard Iran. No Qatar.
So.
And Trump's close with Qatar. Wasn't them the ones that gave him the plane?
They were the ones that gave him the plane, and then he had something like $1 trillion in business deals done.
I got it. But is Qatar playing both sides of the fence?
Yes.
How's Israel feel about Qatar?
Oh, they're totally opposed because Qatar and Egypt are the ones that are trying to monitor the peace treaties, and Qatar and Egypt are both.
Then how are we friends with both?
I know it's a mess.
Okay.
It's a mess.
All right, next update: Beirut and Hezbollah. What's going on with that front of the war?
I want to bring you a report about recent events in the northern arena of Israel. Last Thursday, the IDF struck terror targets of Hezbollah's aerial unit in Beirut's Dahya quarter. The strike followed a warning issued to the residents of the quarter in Lebanon by the IDF Arabic language spokesperson's unit, Lieutenant Colonel Avichai Aderi. This is ahead of a wave of attacks on 4 buildings in the El Hadat, Harat, Herik, and Burk El Barjaneach neighborhoods. And according to the IDF spokesperson's unit, the army struck underground UAV production infrastructure. And on Monday morning, the IDF announced that an Air Force aircraft struck a Hamas terrorist located in Mazrat Bejan in southern Syria on Mount Hermon. Muhammad Abu Saf, a notable local figure, claimed that the target was Anas Abuad, formerly active in Syrian revolutionary factions. Abuad, and this is according to Abu Asaf, was seriously wounded in the strike. He also criticized the strike, claiming that Abu Asaf was not connected to any terrorist group and that these groups had never been allowed to operate in the village. I'm not sure he expected anyone to actually believe what he was saying, but in any case, that's what he said. And in related news, the Northern Commander, Chief Major General Uri Gordin, announced this week that the security situation on Israel's border with Lebanon is the best it's been in decades. According to him, Hezbollah has been stripped of 80 to 85% of its firepower and no longer has the ability to fire broadly.
Okay. So it looks like things are going well for Israel on the northern front. Is that the case?
Yeah, they took out a big portion of Hezbollah in a major city, in the middle of a major city, and Beirut. And so...
Yeah, you don't hear much from that side anymore.
No, Hezbollah, well, they haven't been shooting any missiles from Lebanon. A few have come from Syria, but nothing has come from Lebanon, and I can't remember the last time.
Well, good. Maybe
So,
they did what they were supposed to do up there.
Right.
All right, here's the last one. Miss Greta, the teenager that lectured the U.S. when it came to global warming. Seems like she has broadened her array,
Her expertise into another field.
her fury into another field. Isn't she she's German, right?
German
Or Sweden.
Or Sweden. I want to say Sweden.
She came from Sweden in this clip, but we're going to look that up. We're going to see where she's from. All right. Miss Greta. Oh, young lady. Here we go.
In the worst outcome for controversial climate activist Greta Thunberg and others aboard their boat heading for Gaza, the crew is now in Israel after they were towed to Ashdod by Israeli forces. Their boat, the Madlin, has made international headlines for wanting to break Israel's legal blockade on Gaza. ILTV's Shosh Bedrosian is with us now with the details. Shosh, what can you tell us about what happened in the water?
Lidar, in an unbelievable development, social media posts of the Gaza Freedom Flotilla are calling members detained by Israeli forces, quote, hostages in a sick and twisted turn of events. The members, including controversial climate activist Greta Thunberg, willingly boarded a boat from Sicily in an attempt to reach Gaza, although it has a blockade over it to thwart out terrorism, according to Israel, and prevent weapons from reaching Hamas, the terror organization there. The social media activists were detained and their ship was towed to the Ashdod port, where the activists were then handed over to the police. The government said they will be deported to their countries where they came from. Israel is now nicknaming the boat the selfie yacht after social media activists have taken to their online platforms to spread misinformation about the events that unfolded overnight. Israel said the boat was met in the sea, first with a loudspeaker, and then members of the Israeli Navy boarded the ship. Members, including Thunberg were seen on video willingly taking sandwiches and water from the forces. The group was attempting to bring a small amount of aid into the Gaza Strip, although Israel says they brought less than a truckload on their boat. Thunberg went on her own social media to claim the boat was intercepted and that she was kidnapped by Israeli forces. The 22-year-old has not ever mentioned the 55 hostages that remain in Hamas captivity, nor acknowledged the suffering of the Palestinian people under Hamas rule. Lidar Defense Minister Israel Katz is now saying he informed the IDF to make sure they watch the massacre video that took place on October 7th.
Wow. That little girl is disturbed.
Well, she has a lot of people around her that are manipulating her, and she was just like 14, 15 when they started to use her for all this climate stuff.
Didn't they use? When did they? I thought it was the George Floyd thing. For the George Floyd thing?
No, I think it was more
before then.
Yeah, I think it was she was a big climate person, but they definitely took advantage of her and have used her and put a lot of bad people around her. I don't think.
That's one way of putting it. Oh, maybe she's bad.
Well,
hey, she's 22. She's a grown person.
No, now she is. Yes, she is.
But wow. Okay.
But they made all those people watch that October 7th video on the atrocities of Hamas when they slaughtered all those people.
Not sure how much that will move the needle with them, but.
Well, they were exposed. They probably never saw it. She probably never saw that. So.
How could you not see that? I guess. I don't know.
But anyway, so that was kind of poetic justice that they made her watch. They made all of them watch that video of the atrocities on October 7th.
Yeah.
And like you said, whether will it do any good or change the narrative, I doubt it.
We'll see. Time will tell. All right, switching our discussion to the spiritual topic of today. If we go to Revelation 18:1, it reads as follows. After this, I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was made bright with his glory. And he called out with a mighty voice, Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling place for demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird. I just want to look at the language here. Fallen is Babylon. Why does he use the term Babylon? Why the term Babylon? There's no city right now, assuming Christ is going to come back soon. There's not even a city named Babylon, right? The Babylon that we know of is in Iraq, and it's nothing. It's not a great city at all. It's rubble, if anything.
Right, they said nothing would rise out of Babylon
There's
ever
nothing.
again.
But yet you have here, in speaking of the final days, he's using the term Babylon, the great. He goes on in Revelation 18:10, they will stand far off in fear of her torment and says, Alas, alas, you great city, you mighty city, Babylon, for in a single hour your judgment has come. Why are they using this language that the city will be destroyed like this? But why the language Babylon? Here's my theory I will put forward. I get from Genesis 11:6 through 9. And the Lord said, Behold, they are one people. It's cut off. I didn't even realize this. Sorry about this. It's probably too much, but I'll read. They become one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they proposed will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down. They understand one another's speech, so the Lord dispensed them from over the face of the earth, and left the building of the city. Therefore, its name is called Babylon the Great. Let me change this so that we can see it clearly. But in Revelation 6, you clearly see that he's talking about Babel. He's talking about Babel. Babel with Nimrod. Why, oh why, is he talking about Babel? Babylon, that's the ancient name. Why, oh why, is he using that in Revelation? Well, here's the simple answer. The simple answer is Babel was the last time that the earth was actually in rebellion, united in rebellion against the Lord. So here it is. You have here the only beginning, Genesis 11. This is only the beginning of what they will do, and nothing that they propose to do them will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down, and there confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of the earth, and they left the building of the city. And so you have this where God is dispersing them. He is dispersing them over the earth. And then verse 9, therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of all the earth. There you have again this concept of being worldwide. He dispersed them, and he called their name Babel. And that was the last time that the earth was united against the God. They were united as one against the Lord. And so I believe that is the language. That is the language. Fallen is Babylon the Great. Again, he used the name Babylon, which is Babel, because I think the Antichrist will be the second of his kind. The Antichrist, the second of his kind, in which he's going to unite the world against heaven, unite the world against God, specifically unite the world against Jesus Christ. And that is why he uses the term Babylon. Is it the Babylon or the ancient Babel, the city Babel? No, it is not. Like I said, it's not even around, but he uses that language, Babel, because it's going to be a worldwide rebellion, which then then leads itself to this: what city is it? Right? He labels it Babylon, but what city is it? And Rick had some thoughts on this. Rick, Revelation 17:5. And on her forehead was written a name of mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes and the earth's abominations. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And then you've got Matthew 23:37. O Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often would I have gathered your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you are not willing. All right, Rick?
So the ideology of Babylon is anti-God. Everything against God, destroy God, yep. And we're going to take its place. So God came down and destroyed the Tower of Babel.
Well, he confused their language.
Well, he confused their language.
Stop the building of it.
And stop the building of it. So here in the end times, in the context, the Antichrist has taken up residence in Jerusalem. He went into the temple, and he pronounced himself to be God. And now, after that, in Matthew 24, we didn't put this up, he starts the worst persecution that had ever been on the earth. For then shall great tribulation, such as was not seen since the beginning of the world, at this time, nor ever will be seen. So he started massacring everybody. So I believe, yes, Babylon, the whore, is an ideology, a godless ideology that's trying to overthrow God. But I think it takes place in the city of Jerusalem.
And so your theory is that Jerusalem is Babylon, referred to here.
At this time, the Antichrist is taking it over, and it is spiritual Babylon.
It's spiritual Babylon. Oh, Jerusalem. So if we go back to the text here, Revelation Revelation 17:5 says, Babylon the great, mother of prostitutes and of earth's abominations, and I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. Very, 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 very specific, right? But then in Matthew, when speaking of, O Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets, right, and stones those who are sent to it, how often would I have gathered with the children as a hen gathers her broods, under which her wings you were not willing. I submit to this that the blood of the prophets and the martyrs of Jesus are not the same thing as prophets. Jerusalem, in fact, killed the prophets of the Old Testament that was sent to Jerusalem underneath the Mosaic law. Yes, they killed the prophets. But in Revelation 17:5, he's talking about Babylon, the prostitute of the earth's abomination, the mother of prostitutes, which it is saying the city that has spread the most heresy throughout the time of the New Testament church, right? The mother of prostitutes of the earth, and I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. Is Jerusalem responsible for the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus? I would say no, I don't think Jerusalem is. I think Rome is, through the Roman Catholic Church and the inquisitions that it carried out, and the persecution of the church for thousands of years from Rome throughout not only Europe but the rest of the world. No, I think Rome is more responsible for the blood of saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus Christ. Not necessarily Jerusalem. Jerusalem, yeah, they got the prophets. But the blood of the saints, I don't think Jerusalem is that. But you're saying that the blood of the saints, the martyrs of Jesus, is solely responsible, that attributed to the Antichrist? Is that what you're saying? Or?
Right. Well, because as horrible as the Inquisition was, and it was horrific, and a lot of saints did die, it's nothing compared to the persecution of the Antichrist at this time. So the Antichrist was in, he sits in the temple, and now he's ruling the world from Jerusalem. In Matthew 24, it says, get out, the persecution starting, and there was, this time there's 2 billion people killed at this part in Revelation. So the city of Jerusalem is God's city, I grant you that, and it will, right now it's being occupied by the Antichrist in Revelation 17 and 18, but God brings his ideology to an end at that time. But I think it takes place in Jerusalem. I think Jerusalem is the city that it's referring to.
And so Jerusalem, when you have Revelation 18, it talks about the destruction of the city. Verse 18:21, then a mighty angel took up the stone like a great millstone. Go back and read it for those who are listening. Revelation 18:21, then a mighty angel took up the stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, so will Babylon, the great city, be thrown down with violence and will be found no more. And then in more poetic language, in verses 22 and 23 and 24, it talks about how nothing will happen in that city again, right? So that the Babylon, the great city, will be thrown down with violence and it will be found no more. That angel is going to come down and destroy this city. Destroy it. And it will be found no more. How could that be Jerusalem if Jesus is going to rule from Jerusalem for 1,000 years?
All right, your pastor's always putting me in a box here, but here's
I'm not putting you in a box. It's the scriptures, I think, that I'm trying to understand here.
Okay, so when another country comes and goes against another country, they destroy that country.
Yeah.
They destroy it. They take over it.
Yeah.
So I think this is metaphorically saying that the ideology and of the Antichrist and his campaign has come to an end. Now we know that Jerusalem is going to be where Jesus Christ is going to come and rule and reign, and there is going to be a new Jerusalem coming out of the sky, and it's so that's.
But does this sound like the ideology though? So when you say it right, verse 21, 18:21, then a mighty angel took up the stone like a great millstone and threw it in the sea. So will the Babylon, the great city, be thrown down with violence and will be found no more. And then it says in 22, and the sound of the harpers and musicians and the flute players and the trumpets will be heard in you no more. Craftsmen and any craft will be found in you no more. And the sound of the millstone will be heard in you no more. I mean, it goes on and on. That's not ideology. That's saying it seems like day-to-day activity will be found in you no more. So I think that's in reference to the economy of the Antichrist and his spiritual. Revelation 17 is about his spiritual ideology, and Revelation 18 is about the economic destruction of. But in 23, and the light of the lamp will shine in you no more, and the voice of the bridegroom and bride, the church, will be heard in you no more. That's not economic. That's just saying Jesus, the church, and the truth will be found in you no more. Why? Because you're going to be gone. You're not going to be there anymore. So that goes more than just the economic aspect of it. That's saying Jesus and the church ain't going to be there no more. But we know that Christ is going to rule on earth for the 1,000 years. It seems like that's talking about the utter destruction. Again, go back, read. You guys go ahead back and read, make your own choice, whatever. You study the scriptures. You look it up. But I think if you read the end of Revelation 18, it's saying that Babylon will be destroyed. I think Rome is going to be destroyed. Rome will not be in the millennial kingdom. It's going to be gone. But we do know Jerusalem will be there because he's going to rule from Jerusalem, right?
Correct.
But it's up to you all. Up to you. Oh, we're out of time. I'm sorry, Rick, you have the last word.
No. Okay, yeah. No, that's a position, and but again, it's up to you guys to search the scriptures and come up with what you think the scriptures say. We're just here to guide, lead, and direct, and bring interest into the discussion.
Amen. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. Until next time.
For such a time as this,